Hello everyone, this is Joe from Scarecrow Joe's studio. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. And don't forget to subscribe. In this tutorial, we're going to be making what was shown to you in the intro here. I call him the Pumpkin Reaper. A couple of things to note before we start the tutorial is that I do not consider this one to be particularly geared towards beginners. There are a lot of different elements that we're going to be working with and some things that I won't show you. For instance, how to build a jack-o'-lantern from paper mache. I do have tutorials on how to make paper mache jack-o'-lanterns. There's plenty of them out there on YouTube, not just my own. But I'll link it up here for you right now. So the Pumpkin Reaper tutorial is another multi-segment tutorial. And this first segment, part 1, we're going to be building the armature. So let's quickly go over tools and materials for this segment only, building the armature. And I'll list complete list of tools and materials needed for the entire tutorial start to finish in the description of this video. Tools and materials. You're going to need some thick corrugated cardboard. This is like from an appliance box or something like that. Nice and sturdy, heavy, thick cardboard. You're going to need some sort of like piece of foam or foam board. This just happens to be a scrap piece of a foam insulation board left over from a project that my daughter was working on. And you're going to need that for the base. You're going to need a skull, plastic skull. This is just a cheap plastic skull, and this is what I'm going to use. I'll show you how to create a paper mache skull using a plastic mold from a cheap Halloween prop. Here's one that I've already made. This is what I used for the mold to make my paper mache skull. And as you can see, after you apply the paper mache clay and sculpt it over, it's going to be much larger, so keep that in mind. You're going to need a marker, some sort of blade. I have a utility knife here. You can use a serrated steak knife. You're going to need a pair of scissors, a ruler or yardstick or something to measure with. Plastic bottle. I have a large plastic bottle here, and I also have a smaller plastic bottle. So really depending on the size of your sculpture or the Reaper portion, we're going to use this for his body. So keep that in mind. You'll need a larger one if you want something larger. You'll need a smaller one if you want to make it smaller in scale. You'll need some masking tape. You'll need your jack-o'-lantern that you've already created. This one is hollow because I'm going to insert lights in it. Another thing that you're going to want to have is some thin flexible cardboard, such as, from like a cereal box or something like that, or poster board. That will work as well. Lastly, you'll need something round, a bowl or something like that, or a container, something round that you can trace onto what's going to be the base, so that you have a hole in the bottom of it to insert lights through. And I think that about covers it. So let's get started on building the base of our armature. All right, working on the base of the armature here, which is going to be the platform on where your pumpkin and the Reaper is going to be sitting on. Never mind the stem on this guy. I got to repaint it. That's why it looks that way. But this is the pumpkin or jack-o'-lantern that I'm going to use for this sculpture. I don't want my sculpture so wide. I just want it wide enough so that my pumpkin is going to sit on there and have a little bit of width hanging over on each side and some length here in front of him. Not a whole lot. Let me see. I'm going to position this guy. So where he's at, it's approximately 4 inches. My plastic water bottle here, I'm going to use this larger one. Turn this around here so that you can see it better. And it's really going to come right up against my jack-o'-lantern. So positioning that's where I want it. I have the length in front of the jack-o'-lantern. I have the width on each side of the jack-o'-lantern. And I want to leave a little bit of room here behind the reaper itself. I'm kind of looking at that. I don't need much room. I'm going to give it 3 inches. That should be plenty back there. 3 inches from where my plastic water bottle is. I'm just going to make a mark here. And with my ruler, so I know that's how long I want my base to be. I'm going to go ahead and take my knife. Never mind this. This is just another scrap piece of cardboard that I use to kind of protect my desk so I don't cut into my desk or anything like that. I'm just going to cut that strip off that I don't need. Then I've got my second piece of corrugated cardboard. And they're pretty much identical in the width, so I don't have to measure that out. Don't be overly concerned if this is not perfect. It doesn't need to be. It's going to be all covered over eventually with strip mache and paper mache clay. So there I have it. I have my 2 pieces of corrugated cardboard. I'm going to come over here, and on the very edge here of my foam board insulation, because it's going to be easier to cut, I'm going to take that and I'm just going to trace around it. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut out my piece of foam. I've got my piece of foam cut out. I've got my 2 pieces of cardboard. And what I'm going to do is, this is going to serve as my base. So I'm sandwiching that piece of foam in between these 2 pieces of cardboard here. It'll look something like that. What you could do, if you don't have a scrap piece of foam, you can just layer up enough scrap pieces of corrugated cardboard to the desired height or width or thickness of what you want your base to be. But this is going to serve as the base of the armature. Now, before I start attaching these pieces together to form the base, I need to have the hole. I want the hole in there because in the very bottom, that's where I'm going to insert the lights and up and through the jack-o'-lantern. So I'm going to place, once again, I'm going to place my jack-o'-lantern sculpture that I'm going to use on one piece of the cardboard. And from memory, I know that I wanted this to be approximately 4 inches from the sculpture. So that's approximately 4 inches. I'm going to take my marker. So that's going to be a reminder of 4 inches there. Kind of looking at the diameter of the opening here. This is a smaller jack-o'-lantern, so the opening isn't all that big. So I have a little cardboard bowl here. I'm just kind of gauging how big that is. That's about right. It doesn't have to be perfect. It could be a little bit bigger if you wanted the opening a little bit bigger. Not a big deal. But I'm going to use this here. Sitting my jack-o'-lantern on there. My water bottle. It's going to serve as the body of my reaper. So that's going to be about the middle here. So I've got my mark. I hope you guys could see that. I've got my mark right there. So the edge will be right about there. I'm going to take my marker. Again, this does not need to be perfect. And I'm just going to go around here. I'm going to take my knife or my blade and cut out that circle. Got my circle cut out. And I'm kind of just gauging where that opening is for my jack-o'-lantern. And I can actually see it through there. I don't know, you probably can't, but I could see where the opening is. Kind of lining that up, and it looks pretty good. So I'm going to take my other piece of cardboard here, put the one with the circle already cut out over it. I'm going to trace around that circle and cut that one out. Alright, so I have my 2 pieces of cardboard with the hole cut out. I'm going to take my foam board, lay one of the pieces of cardboard on top, trace in that circle, and cut that out of the foam board. Alright, I have all 3 pieces of my platform or my base cut out. Kind of sandwiching it in there, just like that. Now, with my masking tape, putting a strip of masking tape there, strip of masking tape there, holding it in place, picking it up, holding it in place. Just like that. I'm going to do another strip of masking tape there, another strip of masking tape down there, flipping it over, that's going to secure it in place. I suggest that you get some wide masking tape. This is a 2-inch roll, as opposed to the smaller 1-inch roll. Actually, get a roll of both. It'll do you some good. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover or tape all of the edges around here. The reason that I'm doing that is because, number 1, it's going to secure it in place better. And number 2, we're going to strip mache this base. The strip mache will stick better if it's not on this piece of foam. It doesn't tend to want to stay together or stick to foam like that, or any kind of like plastic. So I'm going to make sure I'm just going to cover all those edges with my masking tape. All right, I've got masking tape holding it together. All the edges are covered in the masking tape. And I'm also in this inner circle here. I'm going to attach masking tape to cover the inside of that circle as well. Completely covered in there. This thing is ready to be strip mached. And I'm just going to put my jack-o'-lantern there just to make sure I've got everything lined up. I can see my little line through the masking tape, so I'm just going to go ahead and put that in there again. Alright, that lines up. Once again, just making sure with my water bottle here, and that lines up, so I have my length behind the Reaper body. I have a little length up the front here. And I got a little length on the sides. And that's all that I need for the base. Alright, so next up, we're going to strip mache. We're going to strip mache our base so we can get that out of the way and get it drying. And we're going to strip mache our skull so we can get that out of the way, get that drying. And then we will move on to building the body portion of our Reaper. The way I'm going to create the armature portion for my Reaper body using my juice bottle here, my plastic jug or juice bottle that I have. And first thing that I'm going to do is create a template from newspaper. So I've already created one earlier just as practice. It might take you a couple of times. So what I do is I have one sheet of newspaper. It's folded in half. I'm going to take my bottle here and I'm going to sit it halfway. So I'm going to have one half on this side, and then when we cut this out, it'll be the exact same on the other side. You'll see what I mean. But you don't want to put it all the way here. You want to have it just half over against the crease or the folded edge of the newspaper, and then where that bottle reaches the bottom of the newspaper. Other thing that I want to make sure that is happening here, and I'm just going to use this other one as a guide for myself so that I'm not lingering too much. I want a little extra height on this, so there's my mark here. And then what I'm going to do is right around the edge here, I'm just going to go in and kind of trace around that. Come up here, just kind of freehanding. And just sort of tapering it. Sort of like that. This one's a little bit longer, what I created. This is going to be like the shoulders. So I think what I want to do is actually make this a little bit longer as well. I want to give him some shoulders. So something like that. I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors and cut that out. And then when you open it up, that's what you have. And it should fit. It should be pretty much the width of your bottle here. So something like that. Might take you a couple of times. You know, I made two of them, two little newspaper templates, and I'm just kind of determining which one I like better. I think I'm going to use this one. The shoulders are going to be a little more wide, so if you want your shoulders a little wider, then make them a little wider. Using my poster board here on the very bottom and on the edge of the poster board, I'm just kind of lining it up on the bottom and the edge here. And I'm going to trace my newspaper template onto this poster board. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to strip mache this thing, get some clay on it, and really it's going to be covered over. No one's really going to see this thing. But we need an armature for the body or the upper body bust of our Reaper. All right, something like that. I'm going to flip it over so we get the exact opposite on the other side here. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out. I'm not going to cut through here. This is going to be all one piece. This is all cut out, ready to go. I'm going to find the middle between that line, and I'm going to trace around the cap area here. Something like that. So when I put this on here, when I place this on here, that's basically where the neck is going to be inserted when we get to that point. But as you can see, it's a little bit longer than the actual bottle because we're going to need that portion to attach to our base. But it's pretty much it's a really good width. It's a perfect width of the water bottle. So basically this is our bust portion of our Reaper. I'm going to go ahead and before I do anything, I want to cut out this little circle in here. Alright, so I've got my little circle cut out. And just like that. Back to my bust. I'm going to go ahead. Might be able to see it better if I do it sideways here. Got that lined up. I want to make sure I'm looking at it, and I want to make sure from the front here that it's lined up pretty even, pretty good. I'm going to hold that down like that into place. Now you can hot glue the base, these pieces that are sticking out, you can hot glue those on, or you can do what I'm going to do, and I have a stapler here, or if you have a staple gun, and I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that that's as flush as I can get it up against make sure that's as flush as I can get it up against the bottle, and I'm going to sink some staples down in there, sort of like that. I'm going to flip this around and I'm going to do the same thing on the back side of it. Well, that didn't work out so well, did it? God damn it. All right, so I'm getting ready to attach my Reaper body here to my base. And again, I'm going to go back to my jack-o'-lantern, get him lined up to where my point is or my mark is there. Taking my water bottle. So I'm just kind of making sure that that's sort of in the middle there. I am going to leave, I'm leaving a little bit of a gap. Originally I had intended to put this pretty much flush up against the jack-o'-lantern. I need to leave a little bit of a gap. I still have plenty of room back here. That's fine. The reason for that is because the ends of these pieces are going to need to be attached down here on the base. So again, with my marker, I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to make a mark there and right in there. That's where I know this base is going to line up. Let me turn this way here. I'm going to go ahead. Might be able to see it better if I do it sideways here. Got that lined up. I want to make sure I'm looking at it, and I want to make sure from the front here that it's lined up pretty even, pretty good. I'm going to hold that down like that into place. Now you can hot glue the base, these pieces that are sticking out, you can hot glue those on, or you can do what I'm going to do, and I have a stapler here, or if you have a staple gun, to make sure that's as flush as I can get it up against the bottle, I'm going to sink some staples. All right, after I've sunk some staples down in there, for good measure, I'm going to take my masking tape and tape it down so that it ensures that it's going to be held in place. I'm going to do the same thing on the back side here. Again, piece of masking tape. Hold that in place. And just kind of looking at it. Might be a little uneven, but once I get my masking tape around the edges here, it should be okay. And that's basically going to be the next step. We have all this negative space in here that we need to cover over, because we need to have a surface to apply our strip mache. So that's what I'm going to create next, is that surface. All right, we got to block in this surface. I'm going to start at the bottom with using my 2-inch masking tape. Start at the bottom. Go down as far as I can. Kind of pinching it together, the two pieces of poster board there, pinching it together and taping it in place. I'm going to continue doing that all the way up here. Okay, and as you can see, I've created that. I've blocked that out. Still have that negative space right there. So I'm just going to kind of flip it over, and I'm going to block in that negative space with the masking tape. All right, so all of that is blocked in. All the negative space is blocked in. There are a few gaps right here. So the way that I'm going to fix that is I'm going to take, you guessed it, more masking tape, and I'm just going to come down across with the masking tape. This does not need to be perfect. I'm going to keep saying that because it doesn't have to be. It really, really does not have to be perfect. This is all going to get covered over. Nobody's going to see this hot mess of masking tape here. I'm going to put one in across the bottom, underneath. Another up top there. So just like that. I'm going to do the other side the same exact way. And there you have it. Blocked in, ready for strip mache. Alright, so trying to keep each segment under 45 minutes. Some of them get really lengthy. So I'm going to call this a stopping point where we're at right now on the first section of this tutorial, building the armature. We've done quite a bit of work on this. We've got the base completed. We've got our bust portion completed. Next up, we're going to do some strip machining on the entire thing. And we're going to use our plastic Halloween mold skull here as our mold to make our skull that will eventually become the head on the bust. But that's going to be a wrap for this one. Thanks for watching. Next one's coming up soon. We're going to do a whole lot more work. Hopefully in that segment, finish the armature completely so that in the following segment, the third one, we start applying the clay and really getting down to business. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.